I'd like to call the candidates up to take seats, please, in front of the room. You will each have 2 minutes to make a statement. April will be our timer, please. And about two minutes, and then I will ask you some questions, and the members can ask you some questions as well.
Okay, so has everybody had the opportunity to look at the statements? Yes? Okay, great. So I need to make a real-time amendment. So if anybody, or most of you who have read it, know that I have worked with Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. I oversaw the blood donor program, Cellular Therapy Center. I am no longer working in that department, which is part of the reason you see me wearing this sweated hoodie, because I now work at the School of Business. So just put that out there. I am currently now the Associate Director of Business Leadership Programs, specifically working with minority-owned and women-owned businesses. So I'm just putting that out there. Okay, so I am fairly new to the Upper Valley, but I do feel deeply rooted. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I was recruited by Dartmouth Hitchcock to work with the community members to help grow the blood donor program. The first 2 years, I have worked really hard with community partners, with community businesses in the area, over 2 dozen, on building relationships and helping to educate the community about the importance of blood donations. Not even one of the most significant partner during that time happens to be the co-op food stores, where I work very closely with them on helping to educate the community on the importance of blood donations. So I've worked with Alan Reeds, Mike Myers, and I can't tell you how impressed I was with their commitment to the program. In fact, we would have weekly meetings, and that's unheard of. And they were completely, totally supportive of the mission. And that's part of the reason I felt that I wanted to be a part of this organization, be a part of the team, because of that commitment. I've also sat in on a number of board meetings where I witnessed firsthand the vigorous, passionate, but respectful debates in those sessions, and it just really confirmed to me the level of commitment and dedication that the board members have for this organization. So that, along with the fact that I have a little 5-year-old who's such a picky eater, and it's really difficult trying to get her to eat healthy, and the co-op, of course, has a kids program that she was too young to attend, but she's getting to that point now that she can start attending those sessions. So it's programs like that that really drew me in and makes me feel like I want to be a part of this innovative organization. So, is that 2 minutes up?
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
I'm Allene Swienckowski. I'm a transplant from Los Angeles, California. Our youngest daughter came to Dartmouth Hitchcock Geisel Medical School in 2010. And we followed her because we had family issues that we had to deal with. Some of you that know me will know that our son passed in 2008. And so we knew that she would need a closer connection to us going through medical school, so we moved from there to here. Our joy has been dealing with medical school students, feeding them, providing a place where they could have parties, sleep over, and moms didn't have to worry about them driving home, having too much to drink. And that's what we did until 2015. I have been involved with the Hartford Committee on Equity and Inclusion. There were some issues that came to bear in 2017. Therefore, our committee was ad hoc, and we are now a standing committee. And what we're working for is to make sure that all people that are on the edges of what we consider society, whether it be by race, by gender, by economics, that we bring everyone in. And so this drew me to the co-op, obviously. I'm a cook. I love to cook. I love to buy wonderful cuts of meat, which I find at the co-op, and I love to feed people. My background is I was an administrative commercial lender, and I used to make multi-million-dollar loans when I was in Los Angeles. And so my home office was in Beverly Hills, and so I have this kind of storied background of limos and airplanes and yachts because I used to finance them. And I enjoyed it. I've been a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I was on the board of AYSO for 3 years because I was a bad soccer mom, meaning I yelled at the referees more than I could ever want to tell you. And so my penance was to be on that board and to assign referees for games for 3 years. I was also president of the board of our Junior Symphony Orchestra. I love living in the Upper Valley. My family's in California and my youngest is in Pennsylvania right now at UPenn. She will be going to Ann Arbor in July of 2020 for her fellowship. We are not moving to Ann Arbor. This is it. And I appreciate having the opportunity to meet everyone in the community and to be involved. And if I were to be elected, I would hope that you would allow me, with your ideas, to put that on the board. And thank you very much.
Okay, hi, I'm Carrie, Kocik, and I moved back, back to New Hampshire area, but specifically to the Upper Valley in October. So I've just survived my first winter. More to the point, my first winter living up a very windy, muddy driveway. So I can now plow a driveway with a tractor, if you need that skill. I thought what I'd spend a little time talking about, I guess my 2 minutes, with my relevant professional experience, since I think everyone's seen the candidate statements. I worked in PR mostly for big corporations in New York City and then in Boston, and eventually 10 years ago found my way to Stonyfield Farm, where I was their communications director. And that was my first experience professionally, where I really saw the power of working for companies that support initiatives and are there for a purpose that's much bigger than just making money. So that really opened up a lot to me and helped me kind of shift gears, and eventually I started my own PR agency supporting companies that do that. So smaller brands, a lot of actually the products that you'll see walking up and down the aisles of the co-op, so finished packaged goods, rices and crackers and cookies and things like that, beverages. But the other thing I get to do, which I really consider a privilege, I spent the past 5 years in Boulder in between those New Hampshire time frames. And that was where I started the business. And I got close to a company and started doing the PR for a trade show called Natural Products Expo. You might have heard of it, you might not have. It's the biggest trade show for the food industry. I gotta go, I know I have like 10 seconds. So like 90,000 people come, and all of the brands that are at the expo, they come and they talk about their new products. But more to the point, it's 90,000 people talking about ideas and how this industry can come together and do things like eliminate single-use plastic and support the environment. We have an entire day of education on climate change and regenerative agriculture, so taking that organic a step further and really making sure we have healthy soils, that we have healthy vegetables, that we have healthy animals, and you all understand that, you're all co-op shoppers and know how this works, but I really have loved getting closer to this industry, and I think that's part of what draws me to running for the board, is to really see how that plays out in our community and our store, and how we can all make those purchase decisions here that support healthy foods and agricultural practices and things that are meaningful to us, but also, of course, the other initiatives. As the co-op grows and succeeds, we can support these great organizations we've heard about here that are doing good work in our community. So thanks.
Hi, I'm Kevin Birdsey. I am a sitting board member as well as an employee of our co-op. And so when I ran 3 years ago, I was able to bring that employee experience that was lacking a little bit at a time where it was needed. So now I'm happy to tack onto that some board experience after one term. One of those best examples of that is on a board that follows a model where you govern through written policy I've chosen to be a leader in being emboldened to write updated policy. The one of those that I'm most proud of is, Ed showed you the end statement, that last one. Happy to have written that over this past year. And that's to, in addition to all the other great things our co-op does, strong sales, a steward of the environment, a strong employer, that in addition to all of that, we can also work towards more diversity and inclusion and equity in our Upper Valley community. And one of the reasons I felt that was so necessary is because also in this term I've had the opportunity to attend presentations and engage in conversations with other cooperative management and board members through nationally and regionally about this issue and how we have so much left to achieve as a society in this topic. And the other thing we've done in this past term collectively is sign on for more training on how to govern appropriately. And one of the most important lessons we've gotten thus far is that our job is to connect with you as the membership as owners. And so I'd love to be a part of continuing that on, hearing more of what you want out of this business of ours. And I hope to challenge you all to think outside your shopping cart, think outside the walls of the store, and think about the cooperative impact that our business has on the community around us, the world around us, beyond the Upper Valley. So I want to hear from you. Look forward to working with my colleagues, both old and new, in another term, and I thank you for your vote.
Hello again. I'm Jessica Giordani, and I am a current board member. I joined the board of the co-op last year, and magically I'm back again for another election cycle as I came in to replace a board member who had resigned. And in my short but I feel productive time on the board, it's been an incredible learning experience. I came to run for a board seat last year through my kind of engagement in the larger food community as the coordinator for the Lebanon Farmers Market, and also through my membership of the co-op. I have kids at home, and I spent years as a baker, so I have big passion around food and sustainability and local agriculture. So those were the things that kind of led me to be involved. And since having the opportunity to serve the community through my seat on the board, I've been chosen to be the liaison to the member engagement committee that exists within the co-op, and I've been able to work with Amanda Charland and her staff of really kind of brilliant people to learn more about who we are as a community and how people engage with the co-op and what the co-op can be doing to better serve you all and grow and support local agriculture and really maintain our role as a leader of environmental stewardship in the community. So I am hoping to continue my work with the board and be able to grow and expand these projects and do my best to serve. And I think that will do it for now, because I know we have Ed and then questions. So thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Howes. I've worked for the co-op for 25 years. I've been on the board for 9 years now. And I gotta say that I've seen so much outside the walls of our co-op that typically members don't see. That because I see it, I couldn't be more proud of this organization and what it's accomplished, what it does with people all across the nation. It's an incredible organization with a lot of impact that's really effective and only limited by member patronage. So if you want this co-op to do more, increase your patronage. Like Kevin said, we're a hybrid co-op. We treat all customers equally because they want all different things. I think that's one of the beauties of our success of our co-op is that we are open to a lot of variety of people. And these people have a lot of different ideas and values and views, but it's really important that all that information is shared, that I know what your value is, and I know what your value is. Because without that, and that's what the beauty of being on the board is an experience where I represent a tremendous membership with so divergent opinions, yet they all have to be heard. And so that's what I find exciting to be on the board. No one person knows it all, but we have to keep our minds open to another view, another value. That's where I find my learning comes from, is being open and flexible to consider another person's view, to walk in their shoes and say, hey, I can understand why you feel that way. That's part of what is used to come to a lot of the board decisions that we make. And they're not easy decisions by any means, but they're the best talented people that we have here. And being on the board as long as I have, and seeing a lot of different elections, I'm so impressed with the slate this year that even if I didn't serve again, I'd be a little relieved, maybe. But to see this passion and to carry this organization forward.
The co-op, as most of you know, just opened a wonderful new service station, service center in Norwich at the old Prime Subaru site. And I have an appointment next Monday for getting my car inspected there. And I encourage you Vermonters to all go there for your car inspections. But in light of this, where do you see, what are your ideas about the future of the growing co-op sector in our community? And how would you address that as a board member?
As a board member, it would be to create the avenue or the forum for discussion of need. I mean, a co-op exists because a lot of people have common needs, and they need those needs filled. And so the more that we hear what your needs are, and you're not probably alone, or there's many people like you that have similar needs. We just got to know what those are. So just having that dialogue of how can we be more of service, and it might be a totally different. You look at another country. There's a lot of different. There's cooperative funeral homes, there's cooperative schools and stuff. So just to have that dialogue, I'll keep it open.
Okay, I think that there's lots of there's vast opportunity for the co-op to expand what falls under our umbrella of cooperative business within the Upper Valley. I think that the service center expansion is fantastic, and I also am particularly interested in our exploration opportunities with solar energy. We talked about that a bit at the last board meeting, looking at the property where the farmers market takes place in Norwich. But I think that as the community is more environmentally conscious and is looking to the co-op to play a bigger role in what we're doing here, I think it's great to get feedback from membership and think about ways that we can expand and grow and meet those community needs.
Yeah. So what immediately comes to mind is there's a similar to smaller but similar to our food co-op down in Durham, North Carolina. And I was able to hear a lot of what they're fairly new, or renewed, I guess, and they're doing a lot of great things in their community there. And they do like a lot of great community dinners. And I was like, well, that's such a great idea, but we also have this great partner here in Listen that's doing that sort of thing already. So, but it just got me thinking about the little things we can do to kind of outreach beyond just selling food. What can we do to connect with people? Because that's really what this business is it's food and people. And so in terms of branching out to other cooperative sectors, we have the wherewithal to start with food, and we have the people. And so when I've had conversations about this sort of thing with Ed Fox, he's mentioned that we have that. We already have a lot of infrastructure, human resources, maintenance and facilities crews, stuff like that. So I don't know if I know how we're going to branch out next, but I believe we have the ability to creatively think of ways to branch out next.
Thank you. I've hired someone to move the mic.
One's qualified for this.
Sure. So I will say, as a this is kind of speaking more as a member, shopper at the co-op. When I walk through the doors of the co-op, I feel like I can trust that there are going to be products that I want and things that I need, but also that my values align with the co-op's values. And so we have to go to the supermarket and have to procure food, or we can grow it. But those in this room, I think, have to go. And we also need to take care of things like our cars and get these inspections and things. So to be able to go into places that are kind of necessary to our day-to-day life and know that they align with our values, that to me feels like a very important thing. And so I like that the co-op offers that, and there may be other ways to extend that to other kind of necessary services or things like that.
Thank you. So the service center in Norwich, I always felt was a brilliant idea, and so it's all about innovation, and I think our role in the community is to continue to innovate. And Subaru left that spot, it left a void, and it left an opportunity. I often need servicing with the amount of miles that I use on my vehicle. And so thankfully, we put a space that you and others in the community can utilize. And I think that's the same exact way we have to think about everything that we do. We look at opportunities to innovate, grow, meet the community needs. And I think as long as this team of individuals get together as often as we do, we will continue to innovate and listen and meet those needs.
My idea for a possible future that the co-op could look at is based on personal experience. My husband had a total knee replacement 2 years ago, and that was after our daughter had left, and we were principally pretty much alone. And so I got involved with having food ordered in boxes, so I didn't have to go in to shop because I couldn't leave him. And I know that a lot of people, particularly someone like me, I don't like driving in the winter. Liz can tell you, some of the other board members can tell you, I'm sorry, I can't make it. The roads are really nasty and I'm not comfortable. And if we had something where there were meals that were put together that could be delivered to people, that might be some kind of way for us to expand our reach. My other idea is I would like to find a way to make food more available to the poorest people in our population. Not those that are at the haven, but those that don't even go into those environments. And they need to be able to have access to good food. Because if you don't eat well, kids in school, they don't learn. And it's a really, really important thing that people have a good source of food. And so if we could reach out, because like with my work at the Harvard Committee, 56% of the kids in White River Elementary School are below the poverty line. That's a huge number of kids. And you know, these are things that also we need to think about. How can we help them?
And their parents park at the co-op parking lot to pick them up because the co-op food store is right next to the White River Elementary School. Thank you. So, as you heard from Kevin, the co-op recently added an 8th N regarding diversity and inclusion, which you saw when the N's were put up on the board, if you could read that far. So, in light of that, the board just established at our March meeting a diversity and inclusion committee of the board, and immediately following that, our HR director, Lori Hilbrand, established a diversity and inclusion committee of the employees. So I would like to ask the board, what the board candidates, what will be your commitment to diversity as a board member?
Mine would be to support the education.
Hold on, Ed.
Mine would be to support.
Oh, wait, let's start, excuse me, start at the other end because you started here. Trying to be different.
Get your walking shoes on now. Comfortable shoes.
Can move back just a tad. Looks like I'm getting ready to eat it. The issue is so profound today, based in our society, that we can see an obvious decline in what's happening, the amount of hate crimes that are going on. The exclusionary feeling that comes from the top down, and I am referring to Washington, D.C., to where we live today. And the way I see things happening is we have to reestablish the fact that we are all Americans. My family's been in this country for 7 generations. And as such, I don't feel like I'm African American. I am an American. And I feel that it's not my job to make anyone feel that they should feel guilt for what happened 400 years ago. What's happening to me, what's happening to my children today. Life today is where I live, and I think it's where everyone lives, and I think that there is enough opportunity for us to make sure we all thrive. And so my objective would be to make sure that all voices are heard. I see poverty as being the big, huge thing that's destroying our nation and makes people feel ashamed. I heard recently people going through the line at the co-op, if they're asked, do they want to level up? Some people are embarrassed because they can't. And, you know, these are very basic feelings that we have. And we should be always aware of the fact that as human beings, we have different kinds of things that make us feel either good or bad about ourselves. I'm very fortunate. I was the first grandchild on both sides of the family, and I'm the oldest, and I'm a spoiled brat. And so, you know, my thing is inclusion, everyone. And if we start there, then wow, what a great world we can have.
So, as I announced earlier, I currently now work with Tuck School of Business, working specifically with minority and women-owned businesses. The goal is to help these minority and women-owned businesses grow, develop. So if there's any opportunity for this board to work with minority and women-owned businesses within the community, I would do my best to help make that connection. I also work for Living Proof, which is a mentorship organization that helps families who need help with mentors for their African American or Hispanic children. So I'm currently mentoring a young African American. So any opportunity that I have to make people aware of this need, whether it be through the board, whether it be through members, I think it would be a mission fulfilled in that sense when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
So one of the things that big trade show that I had mentioned, one of the things we work on is diversity in the industry of the people that are making the foods for us. And it's similar to what you were saying, a lot of investors invest in people that look like them, which means a lot of, you know, traditionally whiter men have invested in younger white men that remind them of themselves. So what we've done is it's one thing to acknowledge it, and then it's another thing to actively take steps to do something to help change that. So we have been doing a lot more in trying to raise the profiles of people of color and of women and of different entrepreneurs so that we can start to see this. I know the co-op and the community here can relate, but start to see more different faces and more ideas and all kind of grow together. It's been harder than I think anyone would want to acknowledge, and I think everything is so kind of just ingrained, and we're, again, still just looking for people that remind us of ourselves. So I do think that there needs to be some active steps taken and some real initiatives laid out. so that we don't fall into those traps of just kind of acting the way we've always acted. And doing things the way we've always done them that works for us and maybe not for everybody in our community.
You, as I have, reaching out to other members that bring different experiences than me. So part of board work, you end up not just serving on committees, but you end up chairing a committee or two. I'm sure I'm going to get hit with the election committee baton again if I'm reelected. And so, like I did last year, I was really proud to bring in a lot of female candidates because gender inequality is still an issue in our world around us. I regretted the fact that I didn't bring any candidates of color last year. I'm thrilled that we have some this year. And so it's through the committee work, through the on the ground working with our members to solve the issues that our board solves is how I would look to solve this or help work to improve this situation. Yeah, and really, more younger people. Not only was I thrilled to have a lot of female candidates, but last year, in recruiting candidates, we brought in Jessica and other Jessica, and I was like, okay, great, some other people more my age, that only have a few gray hairs. And so it's one of the workshops that we did, a segment of our board went to this fall, was one of the lessons was diversity is anybody with a different experience than your own. So really seeking out those experiences and listening to them. Fortunate enough to be truly on the ground with our business and in my day-to-day work here. I have a chance to interact with different people, different experiences. So it all is going to, hopefully, if I'm reelected, reflect on itself.
So my day job is I own a yarn shop here in the community. And when I opened Scratch in 2016 with my two partners, it was important to us that we create a community feeling in our space. And part of that was making sure that everybody knew that they were welcome in our space. There's a stereotype about knitters that it's like a bunch of older white women, and that's not true. There are knitters who come in all ages, from all backgrounds, different abilities, like everyone identifies differently, and the history of handcraft is something that everyone can be a part of. And a lot of people in the community were concerned that we might, shouldn't mix words with politics, we shouldn't be too loud about these things, and we squarely rejected that. Inside the fiber community, it's a predominantly female industry. Lots of women involved, but there are huge problems with racism. There are huge problems with that have really come to surface in recent months. There's lots of dialogue going on about this. In my business, we've from the very beginning been very intentional about working to highlight and support dyers of fiber who are underrepresented in the community. So we specifically are very intentional about working with people of color, people who are disabled or differently abled, people who are queer or gender nonconforming, and we think that the world is a better place when everyone has a place at the table, and that's very intentional, and that's part of, it's always there in everything that I work on doing, because I think that everyone deserves to be heard. And I think that there is so much opportunity for the co-op to bring in all aspects of the community. Everybody needs to eat. Everybody deserves access to healthy, locally produced, when it's possible, food. And the board has great opportunities with our new 8th End and our newly formed diversity committee to really take a stand and work proactively to be more inclusive. And I look forward to the opportunity to be involved in that if I'm elected again.
I mean, having gone through the past 6 months where we've really had this as a topic of discussion has been wonderful to learn more about it. to vote for your committee, Liz, to take it to the next step, to see the GM taking an idea and going with it. I'm confident that it will come to benefit this community greatly. And as a board, can work with this co-op through policy or membership need. So as more of that comes forward, then there's more to act on.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to open the floor to questions from members to ask the candidates.
I was simply curious if you feel that the employees here at the co-op are adequately represented.
Could you be a little more specific to me?
Oh, I
Come
just-
by compensation. Oh,
No, represent.
Okay. on the board.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Edwin. Thanks.
So obviously this topic's near and dear to my heart. I was elected 3 years ago, and I was okay, here's the things I'm going to work on, this, and this, and unfortunately just didn't get around to one of them, and, well, a few of them maybe, but one of them was getting that better connection with our employees. It's important to realize, I don't know if the employees know, because when I went to my first board meeting, I was kind of shocked. I was planning on running, and the amount that the board deals with, the amount of things that the board deals with that have a direct impact on the employees, I don't want to say it's minor, but they kind of exist, they coexist. And they don't really, we don't deal with stuff that affects us on the store level. We don't. It gets there eventually, but it's pulled back. And it's sort of through Ed and the other managers that happens. So it's important to be aware of that. And I don't know, but at the same time, I think it's important to bring more employees in the know about what it is the board does. So if there's ways we can do that, once upon a time the board president had a little feature in our cooperator in our employee newsletter. That was a regular thing, and unfortunately that kind of fell by the wayside. So getting more employees involved in committees, and I'd really love to explore with my colleagues, if I'm reelected, the idea of doing away with that cap of 2 employees on the board. What does that mean if we become 3, 4 strong? There's some dynamics that switches up. And of course, we keep pushing away, and I think we need to kind of fully grab onto and start a conversation with the employees about what a 50-50 ownership would look like, membership versus employees. We're going to hear a lot from both sides on that. So if I'm reelected, I'm definitely going to be asking that question again.
I want to mention that the board still has a standing committee on employment. It's called the EL5 committee, and that committee worked very hard with employees, members, and the administration management to eliminate at-will employment at the co-op, which I think was a great achievement. And we're still working on other benefits, grievances, and other things to make it more democratic for employees. And we'd love to hear more from you, what your ideas are.
You all are so skilled and qualified, I'm having a hard time making a decision. And one of the things that is unique about boards is that they make decisions together and they speak with one voice. So I was just curious about experiences and strengths that you have in terms of being part of a team.
Because of my age, I worked in many teams. One of my incarnations has been as a educational consultant, and my job, I know, oh, Sakura's horror, was helping young people get into graduate programs at some of our best universities in the country. And one of the things that they teach you in MBA programs is the team concept and how to work effectively in a team. And it's something that I mentored when I ran a branch bank. And you know, you have to have your lenders, you have to have your mainline staff. This is in the old days when banks had tellers and officers sitting at the desk to make loans. And I had a staff of 100 people in one office. You don't function, you don't turn an annual profit unless you're working in a team. And when I was in the various organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, you work collectively. So I've got a lot of experience. And at home, I can be mom and lay down the rules.
So prior to relocating to New England, I spent about 2 years in New Jersey. One of my key accomplishments was working as a key member of a team. So I led a team of 8 blood centers and 3 hospitals, all which were competing against each other in New Jersey for the market share, of course. And I was able to lead that team to accomplish a state-breaking record of having 1,000 donors come in together on one day to donate approximately 3,000 units. So I know how important it is to bring people together with different views and working closely with them for the same mission. So I hope to bring that same teamwork to the board as well.
So I really like this question because I think obviously a board that gets along and can work well together is going to get a lot more accomplished. So I think it's a really important point. You can probably back me up on this, Alan. Everybody loves PR. When you work at a company, everybody thinks that getting in the New York Times is really exciting, and they have ideas, and they want to be a part of it. So as a PR person, I've always been part of a team, if you will. Obviously leading a team that's working on projects, but really working collectively with a lot of different people and organizations to hear their ideas and incorporate them and come up with campaigns and things that people get excited about, and sharing that. So I think that just as a probably part of why I've succeeded in that career is I do like working with people, and I really like working across a lot of different people and bringing things together, not standing in the way of things getting done, but helping push things forward. And so I really like working in a team.
Yeah, this is a great question because 3 years ago when I ran before, board holism was a very public part of the election and very public issue. Well, guess what? We're just better at hiding it. It's still a problem. So we were working through it. And so, previous experience, I've worked in at the stores in a fairly large department for a long time. With ever-changing staff, so teamwork becomes an issue there. I ran a committee of staff for about 6 years, so there's that. So the other thing I do, in addition to everything related to the co-op, is I'm an assistant instructor at Widow Commerce, the martial arts school, just down the road. And a couple years ago, we decided it'd be a great idea to move from our little studio space in the Tip Top building to the corner space in the same plaza as a White River store. And so that was, we don't have like a big corporate backer. It's a small independent business, and so we just relied on the other students to help tear out floors and move and stuff like that. So put up posters and flyers and stuff around the towns. So definitely have a lot of experience with teamwork. A lot of that's been through the board in the last couple of years. So just happy to do more of the same, really.
I think that teamwork is an evolving process, And board work has been really interesting in the past year where I've been working here with the co-ops board, because we all have such different backgrounds and experiences. And I think that one of the most important things you can do is work really hard to be a good listener, even though it's difficult sometimes to be listening to different perspectives that you think are not necessarily the direction things should be going. You listen and find ways to communicate with people. I had similar to board experience last year as one of the members of the Arts and Culture Task Force in the city of Lebanon. And people on that task force were a really diverse group of people with different experiences in relation to the arts. And we were coming together as a community group to try and find if there was a path for us to move forward with developing the arts and culture community in the city of Lebanon. And we were able to take our different experiences and listen to each other and work collaboratively and not let perfect be the enemy of good, so we could find a place to move forward with the city. And we've been able to develop an official city commission now that's convening this month. But I think that board work is very similar to that, where you have to find ways to come together and work with one another to continue making progress. And I think we make our best efforts to do that on our board.
Teamwork is very important, and it's not hereditary. So you have to teach it and learn it. One of the most memorable decades of my working at the co-op, and the most meaningful, was a period where Carrie brought in process improvement teams. It was, the co-op had an issue to address. It put together a diverse group of different people that worked together to find a solution to this issue. Then that team would present it to the management team, and the management team had to say yay or nay right then to implement this. And that was just an incredible experience working and developing teamwork experience. Again, it's not hereditary. You got to learn it. You got to listen. For me, it's very important. And but to see the results of what that team, this is this is over a number of years, many different pit teams they call them, and a lot was accomplished with that program. And it's, I think it's continued on till today. And the board work is, again, there's another place to apply team strategy and work together.